Alright everybody, welcome to my Let's Look At of Blade and Soul, which is, today I'm playing it in closed beta. I am recording this live, and just so you know, may stumble around a little bit, but this is a game coming from NCSoft. It's already been out in a lot of Asian countries. I'm not entirely sure which ones. I'm pretty sure it's a Korean developer, however. It's a game that I've been interested in for a while, and I'm excited to finally get to play it. I've made a couple characters here. I've really only tried... this is the Blade Master. This is, I believe it's the Force Master is the name for this class, which is kind of like the mage. I literally just started this one. This is the Kung Fu Master. And this is the Summoner, which I'm not a huge fan of. Obviously, here we see I'm not entirely, I don't remember the name of this race, but, very Elin-esque, if you have ever played the game Terra. There's actually a lot of similarities between this game and Terra, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the character creator, shall we? Okay, so here we are in the character creation screen. This is where you're going to select your races, and apparently right here we can see it's the Lin, which is the Elin-esque characters that I mentioned earlier that I couldn't remember the names of. But, yep, so right now we have the Jin, which from what I can tell are the more human characters. They're the most common in this universe. So the Jin are essentially like your human characters. You have the Gon, which are very large, powerful, and I think that really is the only thing I can think of that, I mean, just big humans, essentially. They compare to I forget the name of the race, but the ones that are large in Guild Wars 2, very similar it seems to me, just large humans. Then you have the Lin. Let's go ahead and pause these videos. Then you have the Lin. Again, this is the race that I said, very Elin-esque. And then you have the Yoon, which is an all-female race. I guess kind of like the Asari from the Mass Effect series. All-female. And yeah. So those are the races. Of course, again, the Yoon is all-female. As for the Jin, you do have the female and the male. The Gon, you have the male and the female. The Lin, you have the female and the male. And again, the Yoon, that's just all female. So now, the classes, they are restricted. The Yoon here can be the Force Master. Again, like the Mage class. You have the Kung Fu Master, which is the hand-to-hand combat class. Then you have the Blade Master, which it's like your general sword class, I suppose. Again, the Lin can be the Force Master, and they can be the Blade Dancer. They have a unique class, however, which is the Summoner, which they always have, like, a familiar that follows them. That does a lot of the attacks for them. They also do have their own attacks, but, yeah. The Gon also have their own unique class. It's the Destroyer. Again, it seems very similar to the Berserkers. I haven't played this class, can't offer an actual opinion on it yet, but it seems like it's very similar to the Destroyers from Terra. And then you have the Jin, who also have their own unique class. They could be Blade Master and Kung Fu Master, and then they also have the Assassin. So, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Let's go with the Gone. Let's go with actually. I don't know. Let's go with a Gone Destroyer, shall we? Male or female? Let's go with female, I guess. All right. So here we are. Actual character creator. Now you have a lot of the base. You have a lot of the base things. If you're not too interested in what your character looks like, they have a lot of presets here, and you can choose a lot of difference. They all pretty much look pretty good. I mean, some of them have a little bit of wonky face, I've noticed, but you can fix that if you care to. You do have face types here that you can switch to, also all presets, and you have skin tones. All the classes have the same skin tones, I'm pretty sure. Not all the classes, all the races, I'm sorry. And then you have the hairdos. A lot of the hairdos are similar. I have noticed a few that are race specific. But, yeah, and all the hair colors, those are also the same for all the races. And then you also have body type presets here that you can switch to. You can get a wide variety. Now that's all well and good, but what if you wanted to be more specific? Well, this does have quite the in-depth character creators with sliders. I mean, you have your eyes, you have your brow type, you have all that, your eyebrow, yep, and all that. But then these are the decorations, obviously. But then we're gonna go here, and you have quite a few sliders. It is very, very in-depth. I don't think you can get quite the variation that you can in, let's say, I believe the game is, I believe it's Ion. I get Ion and Rift mixed up a lot because I played both only very briefly, but I believe it's Ion, or Aeon, however you want to pronounce it. I don't think you can get quite the differences in the body shapes as you could in Ion, but I mean, you could get a pretty decent. Let's go to the body shape here. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's some difference here. Obviously, we have the now mandatory chest size slider. Goes from still kind of big in reality, but I mean, to almost, I mean, I wouldn't even say that's like anime ridiculous size. I've definitely seen much bigger, but yeah, you know, it's there if you're interested in that. But yeah, I mean, I think you do have a lot of variations that you can work with here. Then over here you can see different armors. I mean, I'll let them go a little bit here. The armors, I will say this, from what I've seen, are absolutely beautiful, on par with Terra when it comes to just how beautiful the armors are. This is the first armor that you get. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about armor, and at least the first armor, which is this, or I believe the other version is this. You have a choice between basically these two. And I'll talk about that later. But, yep, so, I mean, that's that. I'm going to go ahead and back out of this, and I'm going to load up my Blade Dancer, and we'll continue to talk. We'll talk about gameplay, I guess. Alright, so here we are. We're in the game now. This is the character I created, the Blade Dancer. This is pretty much the one that I got the furthest. I believe I got her up to level 7 now, I think. I'm not even entirely sure where that is on this, but if I recall correctly, it is 7. It all looks pretty familiar. Now you will notice that I do have a controller shortcuts. It does work with a lot of controllers. I have a third-party GameStop Xbox 360 controller, worked right away. Didn't have to do anything, plug and play. So if you're anybody out there like me who just prefers to use a controller, I know it's not as competitive. As long as it is not way too complicated to use, I just prefer to use a controller. It's easier for me. As I'm getting older, I'm getting less comfortable sitting at a computer to play games for long periods of time, so it's just more comfortable when I'm playing for hours, a few hours at a time, to sit at the recliner, and it's easier to do that with the controller. But that's beside the point. Enough about that. So you'll notice that there isn't a ton of skills, which is nice, because I think one of the problems with some games that have a lot of skills is they just don't. They're way too convoluted to use a controller. Terra being one of them. Okay at early levels, but not very good when you get full bars full of skills. But yep. So I mean, I'm gonna just go here and see what we can do. Now, if you've played Terra, you'd be familiar with the combat style. It's not exactly like Terra. The Blade Dancer does have a block, and because I'm really not used to commentating while playing, I'm probably going to not be playing very well here. So, just a fair warning. And let's talk about the aesthetic, first of all. The aesthetic is obviously very Asian in theme. It does have... It has an anime feel, yes, but at the same time, it also reminds me a lot of, like, Crouching Tiger, the way the movie, The Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, just the way the characters move, like, case in point, the jumps here. And I like the aesthetic. I'm a fan of the aesthetic. And the combat is very fun, I will say that. The combat is incredibly entertaining, and I mean, honestly, with what I have experienced, from what I've experienced in the beta, it's pretty much confirmed that I'll be getting this, that I'll be getting the Founders Pack, and, yeah. But anyway, it is very similar to Terra, and Vindictus. I haven't actually played Vindictus. I did download it at one point. Never really got around to playing it, though. But I have heard that it's very similar to that as well. So if you're a fan of either of those games, combat, and you just want to try something new, might be something you want to look into when it comes out. What else? I mean, let's go over here so I can heal up a bit. Let me pull up the inventory here. The inventory here, this is like soul shields. They offer like bonuses. I haven't experienced enough to offer an actual explanation as to how and why they work and what they do, other than what you can see right here. Your weapons, you can actually like use other weapons to make your weapons stronger. So if you like a particular weapon, like whether you like what it does, or if you like its skills, its passive abilities, or whether you just like the aesthetic of the weapon, you can actually use other weapons you find to level this weapon up and make it more viable for later in the game. I don't know how well and how long they'll be useful. I can't imagine you can just use the starting weapon to the end of the game, but I mean, that's something interesting that I liked. One thing I don't like is that there's no character menu. I've noticed that. There is... Where is it? I know it's down here somewhere. Ah, there it is. You can see here, I'm not entirely sure what all these are. This is where I am right now, so I don't know if these are all the armors that are available in this area. I'm not entirely sure. But, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Don't know that much about it. So, yeah, I mean, this is the closest you get to a character, like a character screen that you're used to. Obviously, over on the right-hand side here, you have all of your quests. We're all pretty familiar with that, aren't we? Pretty much just pretty much standard at this point. Minimap, which is really good. I actually like the way this is used, and I like the way it's done. It's pretty nice. Down here, obviously, you have your achievement menu, you have your friends menu, the store, which is the cash shop, because this is going to be a free-to-play game. If you go to NCSoft's website, or the Blade and Soul website, you can buy Founders Packs, which unlock certain things, give you certain, and it guarantees you beta access. I believe there is only one more beta weekend planned at the mid-December-ish, but there are some things that you get, some bonuses here and there. Now, let's talk about settings and performance. Now, you will notice that up here, it's locked at 30, and while I'm doing this, I mean, it's pretty steady at 30. I'm not seeing it drop at all, really. Maybe down to like 29. Let's see. Yeah, I can't even really get it to drop right now. Yeah, like just for a brief second to 29. On my system, which I will post my specs in the description of this video, on my system, the game is, in instanced small areas, it can maintain a rock solid like 90-100 frames per second and doesn't really dip from that. In the open overworld, where I am right now, it stays around, I would say, 80 when I'm in combat, or there's just a lot of things going on. It does dip, or there's a lot of characters on the screen, it does dip to around 60. I never really see it go lower than 60 though. And all my settings are, they're not maxed, but let's pull it up here. Again, I mean, you saw right there I am on 1080, but they're not maxed. They're almost maxed. They're 4 out of 5, so they're almost there. And yeah, I don't have any AA on, and I can't tell you how well it will function on yours, obviously, because you don't have, like, I don't know what you have, and also I'm not a genius when it comes to system specs. Excuse me. I'm not a genius when it comes to system specs, so I don't really know. I do know that if you go here, it does have a thing here where it optimizes for low-end PCs. I don't know if you would need to switch to the lowest graphics settings. It doesn't seem that demanding to me. Granted, I am not maxed out. Let's actually max this out and see what we get. Let's actually attack here, see what happens. Was using the keyboard there for a minute. Yeah, it's not dipping either. Again. And obviously right there you just saw the level up animation, which is pretty grandiose. And I'll have to check in post, but I did not see any frame rate drop even when that animation triggered. Could have happened though, and I'm sure just because I'm locked at 30 right now for the recording purposes, I'm sure if I was out of recording that like I would probably be seeing dips below 60. I can almost guarantee that. I don't have a super high-end PC. It's probably a mid-range, like again, not a system spec genius, but whatever. And I guess I haven't actually shown like the skill tree yet. I forget. I think it's here. Yeah, this is the martial. I assume this is where you increase your skills. Again, it says something about level 17. Yeah, chapter 17. That's what you can train. Alright, so, and I think I'm in chapter 8 right now. So, I mean, it's not too much further off, but yeah, I assume this is how you increase and make your skills better. There are quite a bit more skills than I thought there were, I'll say that much. But, yeah. So there's that, if you're interested at all. The payment model, I'm not entirely sure. Let's pull up the store. Now, I'm not 100% positive, but I think these are the things you use to unlock some item drops. You do get them from quest rewards, but I have no idea if that's going to be something that's there in the final version of the game. That might just be something you get for the beta, maybe to disguise the fact that they sell them here. I'm not sure, but that's a little worrisome, I guess. I find it a little odd that they're selling stuff like this, and the game's not even out yet. It's interesting. Most of it's cosmetic, though. I mean, the game is entertaining enough, I think. For me, I don't know if it will be for you, but I like the aesthetic quite a bit. One last thing here. Let's duck over to the first city that I was at so you can see something more than just this, I guess. Alright, and we're back. I'm back. Well, I mean, I'm back between where I said I'm going to go to the city, and now it was probably about 5 to 10 minutes for me, whereas it was instant for you. But, whatever. So here we are in the main city. Well, the first, I don't really know if you call it the main city, it's the first main city that you come across. But, yeah, and now I will say this, I did notice when I got here with everything set on max that my frame rate did dip pretty significantly here. It was dipping below 30 on max. I dropped it back to 4, and it's staying pretty solidly above 30. A little bit of dips here and there, but performance seems to be pretty good, and it probably scales pretty well on lower-end PCs. Yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous. I don't really know what to say. What else I could say about the looks. But, yeah. Here's the main thing. One mechanic is your weapon does deteriorate over time, and you do have to fix it. You can do that at any fire. I'm going to go ahead and do it right here. You can do it at any fire. There's campsites that you can do it at throughout the overworld where you're questing, so you can always do it there. Oh, and I did want to talk about your the very first armors you get. Right before you leave this town to go off, like after the tutorial's over, you get the ability to select a faction, and when you select that faction, you're given your very first armor that isn't the starting armor, or at least the first one I have found. Maybe you could find some before, but anyway, this is how the PvP, the like in-world PvP, is done. It's done with, when you put this on, you will become hostile to every one of the Cerulean Order, which is the other one that you could join right now. Which, because it's an early beta and there are just tons of people around, I wouldn't suggest doing unless you just want to give it a whirl, I guess. When I had that on, I wasn't able to accomplish hardly anything, but without getting killed. Also, I was playing, that was the last night, there was a ton more people playing then, it seemed, but yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think it's a pretty solid game. It's definitely something I'm looking forward to, and if you are interested and want to look into it as well, I will leave links in the description of the video. And yeah, I probably forgot some stuff that I wanted to talk about, but there you have it. Alright, later guys.